The morning begins before it is fully seen. There is no sudden light, no sharp beginning. Just a slow change in the air. A soft grayness that gently replaces the deep dark of night. It comes quietly, almost without being noticed. Inside a small home, the world is still. The walls hold the coolness of the night. The floor, whether made of packed earth or rough wood, feels slightly cold. The air carries a faint scent of smoke, resting quietly from a fire that burned many hours ago. A child lies still. Not fully asleep, not fully awake. There is a moment like this every morning. A space between dreams and the day. In that space, everything feels soft. Thoughts move slowly. The body does not rush. Outside, something shifts. A faint sound. Perhaps a bird moving its wings. Or the gentle stirring of animals nearby. It is not loud. It does not demand attention. It simply exists, like a quiet signal that the world is beginning again. The child opens their eyes. There is little to see at first. Just shadows. Soft shapes. The outline of a ceiling, uneven and familiar. A beam of wood. A hanging cloth. Small details that have been seen every day, yet never truly examined. The child sits up slowly. The blanket falls slightly, releasing a trace of warmth into the cool air. The skin notices the change immediately. It is not uncomfortable. Just different. There is no clock. No voice calling out the hour. Time is felt, not measured. The body knows when it is morning. From somewhere nearby, a low sound can be heard. A quiet movement. Someone older has already begun the day. Their steps are steady, practiced, almost silent against the ground. The child listens. Not actively, but naturally. Listening is part of being here. The sounds are familiar. They do not interrupt. They do not surprise. They form a kind of background, soft and steady, like a rhythm that never fully stops. The child reaches for clothing. The fabric is simple. Worn many times. It carries the texture of daily life. Slight roughness in some places, softness in others where hands have touched it again and again. Putting it on takes only a moment. There are no choices to be made. Only what is already there. The child stands. For a brief moment, there is stillness again. Standing in the quiet room. Feeling the ground beneath their feet. Feeling the air against their skin. Then, slowly, they move toward the door. It opens with a soft sound. Outside, the morning has grown just a little brighter. The sky is pale. Not yet blue, not yet fully awake. Just a soft, endless stretch of light that seems to expand quietly in all directions. The air is cool. It touches the face gently. Carries the faint smell of damp earth, of grass, of something living and steady. There is no rush. The child steps forward. The ground feels familiar. Every small rise and dip is known without thinking. The path has been walked many times before. Nearby, there is movement. Animals, perhaps. A chicken pecking lightly at the ground. A goat shifting its weight. Small, quiet sounds that belong to the morning. A thin line of smoke rises in the distance. It moves upward slowly, almost lazily, blending into the pale sky. The smell of it is soft. Not strong. Just enough to remind the child that something is already being prepared. Food will come soon. But there is time before that. There are always small things to do. The child moves toward a container. It is not new. It shows signs of use. Edges slightly worn. Surface marked by time and handling. But it is strong. It has held water many times before, and it will hold water again. The child lifts it. The weight is familiar. Not too heavy. Not too light. Just enough to be noticed. The path to the water is quiet. Grass brushes lightly against the legs. The ground is slightly damp in places, holding onto the coolness of the night. Small insects move quietly, almost invisible. The child walks without thinking. There is no need to look down at every step. The body remembers the path. At the water's edge, everything feels a little softer. The sound of water is gentle. A slow movement. Not loud, not restless. Just steady. The child kneels. The surface of the water reflects the pale sky. A soft mirror, broken only by small ripples. The container is lowered. There is a quiet sound as it touches the water. A brief moment where the surface breaks, then settles again. The child watches. Not because there is something new to see, but because this moment, like many others, invites stillness. The container fills. The child lifts it carefully. Water shifts inside, moving gently with each small motion. For a moment, the child pauses again. Looking at the water. At the way it catches the light. At the way it moves, even when held. Then, slowly, the child stands. The return walk is just as quiet. Each step steady. Each movement careful. Back at the home, the morning has moved forward. The light is stronger now. Shadows have begun to take shape. The world feels more awake, though still calm. Food is being prepared. The smell is simple. Warm. Familiar. The child sets the container down. There is no need for words. Everything is understood. The child sits. The meal is placed nearby. Perhaps a bowl. Perhaps a piece of bread. Something plain, something steady. Food that has been made the same way many times before. The child eats slowly. There is no rush. No need to finish quickly. Each bite is small. Each movement quiet. The warmth of the food spreads gently, filling the body in a calm, steady way. Around them, the world continues to wake. Soft voices. Low and even. Movements that are careful and unhurried. Nothing feels sharp. Nothing feels loud. Everything moves at the same gentle pace. And in that pace, the day begins. Not suddenly, but slowly. Like a long breath being taken in, and then held. The morning continues without announcing itself. There is no clear moment when it becomes fully day. The light simply grows, quietly and patiently, until everything can be seen without effort. The pale sky deepens just a little, and the ground begins to hold a gentle warmth. The child finishes eating. There is no sudden movement afterward. No rush to stand or hurry away. Just a small pause. A moment where the body rests, even while sitting, even while awake. Then, slowly, the child rises. The bowl is set aside. The hands may be brushed together lightly, removing small traces of food or dust. Every motion is simple. Nothing is wasted, but nothing is hurried either. Outside, the sounds of the day have grown slightly stronger. Still soft. Still calm. But more present now. There are footsteps moving across the ground. The quiet shifting of tools. The gentle call of someone speaking from one place to another. Not loud. Never loud. Just enough to be heard. The child steps into this growing rhythm. There is always something waiting to be done. Not in a heavy way, but in a steady, expected way. The kind of work that does not need to be explained. It simply exists, like the passing of time itself. Today, it may begin with sweeping. A simple tool, made from gathered fibers or thin branches, is lifted from where it rests. It is light in the hand, shaped by use over many days. The child moves it slowly across the ground. Back and forth. Back and forth. Dust shifts quietly. Small bits of straw, tiny pieces of dirt, all moving together in soft lines. The sound is gentle. Almost like a whisper against the floor. There is no urgency in the movement. Each stroke is steady. Repeated many times, until the space feels clean enough. Not perfect. Not polished. Just cared for. That is enough. Nearby, someone else is working. Their movements are just as steady. Perhaps preparing food for later in the day. Perhaps repairing something small. A tool, a piece of cloth, a wooden handle worn smooth from many uses. There are no long conversations. Only a few words, spoken when needed. The quiet is not empty. It is shared. The child finishes sweeping. The tool is placed back in its place. Not thrown. Not dropped. Simply returned. For a moment, there is another pause. The child looks around. The space is the same as before, and yet slightly different. Slightly calmer. Slightly more settled. Then, the next task comes. It might be tending to animals. The child walks toward them slowly. They are familiar, these animals. Seen every day. Known in a quiet way that does not need words. Their movements are predictable. Their sounds gentle and steady. A chicken moves aside as the child approaches. A goat lifts its head briefly, then lowers it again. The child carries small amounts of food. Nothing large. Just enough. The food is placed down carefully. There is a quiet moment where the animals gather, moving softly, their presence calm but purposeful. The child watches for a short while. Not out of curiosity. But because this, too, is part of the rhythm. Watching. Being present. Then, slowly, the child steps back. The work continues. There may be water to carry again. Or wood to gather. Each task feels similar in its shape. Walk. Lift. Carry. Place. Simple actions, repeated gently, over and over. The sun continues to rise. The warmth grows slowly, touching the skin in a soft, steady way. Shadows move across the ground, stretching and then pulling back as the light changes. Time is not counted, but it is felt. In the position of the sun. In the warmth of the air. In the quiet signals that the body understands without thinking. The child moves through this time naturally. There is no separation between moments. Everything flows. At times, the child may pause again. Standing still for a few seconds. Looking at something small. A leaf moving slightly in the breeze. A line of ants carrying something far too large for their size. The way the light touches the edge of a wooden surface, making it glow softly. These moments do not interrupt the day. They are part of it. Then, gently, the work continues. There may be a task that requires both hands. Holding something steady while it is adjusted. Tying a simple knot. lifting a small bundle and placing it somewhere nearby. Each movement is careful. Nothing is rushed. Nothing is forced. The body moves as it always has. Guided by repetition. Guided by memory. There is comfort in this. A quiet, steady comfort. Because nothing is unexpected. Nothing changes too quickly. The world remains the same from one moment to the next. And in that sameness, there is a kind of peace. The child does not think about the future. Not in a distant way. Only the next small task. Only the next simple movement. That is enough. The morning begins to shift slowly toward midday. The light is brighter now. The air is warmer. Sounds carry just a little further. Voices, still soft, move gently through the space. Someone may call out a name. Not loudly. Just enough to be heard. The child responds without hesitation. There is no delay. No question of whether to go. Only movement. Only response. The next task is waiting. And so the child goes. Step by step. Without rush. Without resistance. Moving gently through the quiet shape of the day. And as the sun climbs higher, the rhythm remains the same. Steady. Soft. Unbroken. Like a long, slow breath that never quite ends. By the time the sun reaches higher into the sky, the world has fully opened. The light is no longer soft and gray. It has become clear, steady, and warm. It rests across the ground in wide, quiet stretches. The edges of things are easier to see now. Every small detail feels gently outlined. The child continues moving through the day. There is no clear moment where morning ends and midday begins. It happens slowly, without notice. The air grows warmer. The shadows become shorter. The sounds of the world settle into a steady, familiar pattern. Work does not stop. But it changes slightly. The movements become a little slower, not from tiredness alone, but from the warmth that now fills the air. The body adjusts without thinking, finding a quieter pace. The child may be outside now, away from the shelter of the home. The ground is dry in places, softer in others. Dust may rise lightly with each step, then fall again just as quietly. The smell of earth is stronger here, warmed by the sun. There are plants nearby. Some growing in small rows, carefully tended. Others growing freely, shaped only by the passing of seasons. The child moves among them without disturbing them too much. There is work here too. Small, careful tasks. Pulling away unwanted growth. Adjusting the soil. Carrying small amounts of water and letting it fall slowly at the base of each plant. The water disappears quickly into the ground. The child watches it for a moment. Then moves to the next place. Everything is done one step at a time. Nothing is rushed. Nothing is done all at once. There is a quiet understanding that the day is long enough. That everything will be done in its time. Nearby, another person works as well. Their presence is steady. They do not speak often, but when they do, their voice is calm and low. Words are simple. Instructions are gentle. There is no need for long explanations. The child listens. Then continues. The sun moves slowly above. It does not feel like movement, but it can be seen in the way shadows shift. A small rock that once cast a long shadow now casts only a short one. A tree that once stretched its shade across the ground now holds it close to its trunk. The air feels still. The breeze, if it comes, is soft and brief. It moves through the leaves quietly, then fades again into stillness. The child pauses. Only for a moment. Standing in the warmth. Feeling the sun on their arms, on their face. There is no discomfort in it. Only a quiet awareness. Then, gently, the work continues. There may be something to carry. A bundle of small branches. A container with water. A simple tool. The weight is familiar. The path is known. Each step is steady. The body does not resist the work. It accepts it. Because this is how the day moves forward. At times, the child may hear distant sounds. Perhaps someone working further away. The faint call of a voice carried gently by the air. Or the quiet movement of animals shifting in their space. These sounds do not interrupt. They blend into everything else. Part of the same calm rhythm. The child reaches the place where the task is needed. The bundle is set down. The tool is used. The movement is repeated. Over and over. Slowly. Carefully. There is no counting. No measuring of time. Only the feeling of progress. Small, steady progress. Eventually, the work begins to soften. Not because it is finished. But because the body begins to feel the quiet weight of the day. There is a natural slowing. A gentle pause that comes without being asked for. The child steps back. Looks at what has been done. It is not perfect. But it is enough. That is always enough. There may be a call from nearby. A signal that it is time to return. The child does not hurry. There is no need. The path back is just as familiar as the path away. Each step feels the same. Steady. Even. The ground warm beneath the feet. As the child returns, the space around the home feels slightly different. The light has changed again. It is still bright, but softer at the edges. The air carries the faint scent of food once more. Something simple. Something warm. The kind of smell that does not demand attention, but gently invites it. The child steps inside, or just near the entrance. There is shade here. A coolness that feels soft against the skin. The change is quiet but noticeable. For a moment, the body rests. Not fully sitting, not fully working. Just being still. Then, slowly, the child sits. The midday meal is simple. Much like the morning. Nothing elaborate. Nothing excessive. Just enough. The child eats in the same calm way. Small bites. Slow movements. No rush. Around them, others do the same. There is a shared quiet. Occasional words. Soft, low, and brief. The kind that does not break the calm. After eating, there is another pause. A slightly longer one. The body leans into rest, even if only for a short time. The warmth of the day settles gently over everything. Outside, the world becomes quieter. Not silent, but slower. Even the sounds seem to soften. The child may close their eyes for a moment. Not fully sleeping. Just resting. Listening. Feeling the steady presence of the day. And in that moment, everything feels still. Not empty. But complete. Then, slowly, as the sun begins its quiet path toward the other side of the sky, the child will rise again. The work will return. Softly. Gently. Just as it always does. The afternoon begins without a clear edge. There is no sudden change, no line where midday ends. The warmth simply settles a little deeper into the air, and the light begins, almost imperceptibly, to soften. The child opens their eyes again, if they had closed them. The body feels slightly heavier now, not from strain, but from the quiet fullness of the day. There is a gentle slowness in every movement, as if the air itself has become softer, thicker, asking for calm. For a few moments, nothing happens. The child remains still, listening. There are sounds, but they are distant and low. A faint movement of leaves. A quiet shift somewhere nearby. The world has not stopped, but it has slowed. Then, gradually, the child rises. There is no signal to do so. Only a feeling. The day is continuing. And so, the child continues with it. Stepping outside, the light feels different now. It is no longer bright and direct. It has become warmer in tone, softer in its touch. Shadows have returned, longer than before, stretching slowly across the ground. The air carries a quiet warmth. Not as sharp as midday. More gentle now. More forgiving. The tasks of the afternoon are waiting. They are not very different from the ones before. But they feel different. Because everything feels slower. The child walks toward the place where work is needed. Each step is steady, but softer than before. The ground is warm beneath the feet, holding the memory of the sun. There may be tools to gather. Small things, left earlier in the day. The child picks them up one by one. There is no rush to collect everything at once. Each item is noticed. Each movement is careful. Then, the work begins again. Perhaps it is arranging something. Moving small objects into place. Stacking. Sorting. Adjusting. The hands move slowly. There is no urgency in the motions. Only repetition. Gentle, steady repetition. Nearby, another person works as well. Their movements match the same quiet rhythm. There may be a few words spoken. Soft, low, and spaced apart. Not a conversation. Just small exchanges. Then, silence again. But it is not empty silence. It is shared. Comfortable. The kind of silence that does not need to be filled. The child continues. Lifting. Placing. Adjusting. Each action feels familiar. Done many times before. The body does not need to think about what comes next. It already knows. At times, the child pauses. Not because they must. But because the moment allows it. Looking outward. Not at anything specific. Just seeing. The landscape stretches quietly. Simple shapes. Soft colors. Nothing sharp. Nothing overwhelming. A tree may stand nearby, its leaves barely moving. The light touches them in a soft way, creating small patterns that shift slowly across the ground. The child watches for a moment. Then returns to the task. There may be something to carry again. A smaller load this time. The body adjusts without thought. Lifting. Balancing. Walking. Each step measured. The path familiar. As the child moves, the sounds of the afternoon follow gently. A distant call. The faint movement of animals. The quiet brushing of wind through something unseen. Nothing stands out. Everything blends together. Time continues to pass. Not quickly. Never quickly. The sun lowers, just a little. The light becomes warmer still. Shadows grow longer, stretching across the ground like slow-moving shapes. The air begins to cool, just slightly. Barely noticeable at first, but present. The child feels it without thinking. The body always knows. Work continues, but it begins to soften. Tasks grow smaller. Movements slower. There is less to be done now. Or perhaps the same amount, but spread more gently across the time that remains. The child finishes one task. Then another. Each one brought to a quiet close. There is no clear ending. Only a gradual completion. Tools are returned to their places. Not dropped. Not left behind. Placed carefully. As they always are. There is a sense of settling. The day, which once opened wide in the morning, now begins to fold in on itself. Gently. Without effort. The child stands for a moment. Looking around. Everything is as it should be. Not perfect. But complete enough. That is all that is needed. A voice may call from nearby. Soft. Even. The sound carries easily in the calmer air. The child turns. There is no hesitation. Only movement. Walking back toward the home. Step by step. The ground feels slightly cooler now. The warmth of the sun is fading, little by little. The light continues to soften. Edges blur. Colors deepen. As the child reaches the home, there is a sense of quiet gathering. Others are nearby. Moving slowly. Finishing their own tasks. There is no rush to speak. No need to fill the space. Everyone understands. The day is coming to its gentle close. The child steps into the familiar space once more. The air feels different here. Cooler. Calmer. Holding the quiet of many days just like this one. For a moment, the child pauses again. Standing still. Feeling the shift. From afternoon. Toward evening. And everything continues, slowly, into that softer light. The evening does not arrive all at once. It begins quietly, almost without being noticed. The light, which had slowly softened through the afternoon, now begins to fade in a deeper way. The warmth of the sun pulls back gently, leaving behind a cooler air that settles close to the ground. The child feels this change before fully seeing it. A slight coolness touches the skin. The shadows grow longer, stretching far across the earth, blending into one another until they are no longer separate. The sky begins to change its color. Not suddenly. Just a slow shift. From pale brightness to something warmer, something deeper. The child stands near the home. For a moment, there is no task. Only stillness. This moment is different from the pauses earlier in the day. It is quieter. Softer. As if the world itself is lowering its voice. Nearby, others move slowly. Their work is nearly finished. Each movement now feels like a closing. A gentle ending to the actions that filled the day. Tools are set down. Spaces are cleared. Small things are put back where they belong. The child watches this without needing to be told. Then joins in. Picking up something small. Carrying it a short distance. Placing it carefully. Every action feels lighter now. Not because it is easier, but because there is less of it. The day has already given most of what it holds. Outside, the sounds begin to change. The movements of daytime grow quieter. In their place, softer sounds appear. A distant call that lingers longer in the air. The faint rustle of something unseen moving through grass or leaves. The quiet settling of animals, finding their places for the night. The child listens. Not actively. Just naturally. These sounds are familiar. They come every evening. And they always feel the same. Steady. Calm. Unhurried. The air carries new scents now. Faint traces of cooking. Something warm. Something simple. It drifts slowly, moving through the space without urgency. The child follows it, almost without thinking. Back toward the center of the home. There is a soft glow now. Not bright. Just enough. Perhaps from a small fire. Perhaps from fading light entering through a narrow opening. It touches the surfaces gently, making everything feel quieter. Closer. The child sits. Not heavily. Just a slow lowering of the body into a familiar place. The ground, or a simple seat, feels steady beneath them. There is comfort in that steadiness. The evening meal is prepared. It is simple. Like every meal. Nothing changes in that way. There is no need for change. The same foods, the same methods, the same quiet care. The child watches as it is brought forward. Then begins to eat. Slowly. Each movement softer than before. The body no longer needs energy for work. Only enough to carry it gently into rest. Around them, others eat as well. There may be a few words spoken. Low. Even. Spaced apart. Then silence again. But it is not empty. It is full of presence. Shared, quiet presence. Outside, the light continues to fade. The sky deepens. Colors soften into darker tones. Edges disappear. Shapes become less clear. The world feels smaller now. More contained. After eating, there is no sudden movement. No rush to stand. Only a gradual easing. The child remains still for a moment. Feeling the warmth of the food. Feeling the quiet around them. Then, slowly, they rise. There are small things left to do. Very small. Nothing heavy. Nothing long. Perhaps adjusting something near the fire. Perhaps bringing something inside. Each action is done gently. Without hurry. Without effort. Then, one by one, these tasks end. There is nothing more waiting. The day has reached its quiet conclusion. The child steps outside once more. The air is cooler now. Noticeably so. It wraps lightly around the body. The sky above is darker. Not fully night yet. But close. There may be a few faint lights appearing. Small points, distant and quiet. The child looks upward for a moment. Not thinking. Just seeing. Then, slowly, they lower their gaze. There is no need to stay. The body begins to feel the pull of rest. Not sudden. Just a gentle leaning toward stillness. The child steps back inside. The space feels different now. Quieter than before. Even the smallest sounds seem softer. The place where they will sleep is already waiting. Simple. Unchanged. Familiar. The child moves toward it. Each step slow. Unforced. There is no need to prepare much. Everything is already as it should be. The child lies down. The surface beneath them feels known. The blanket carries its quiet warmth. The body settles. Slowly. The sounds of the outside world continue, but they are distant now. Soft. Blending into the background. The child closes their eyes. There is no struggle. No effort. Just a quiet release into rest. The day does not end with a clear line. It fades. Like the light. Like the warmth. Like the sounds. Everything becoming softer. Everything becoming still. And in that stillness, the night gently begins. The night settles slowly. It does not fall all at once. It spreads gently, like a soft layer placed over everything. The last traces of light fade into the distance, and the sky becomes deeper, wider, and more still. Inside the small home, the air grows cooler. The warmth from earlier lingers only slightly now, held close to the ground, to the blanket, to the quiet spaces where the day once moved. The child lies still, feeling this change without needing to notice it fully. Breathing becomes slower. More even. Each breath rises and falls in a steady rhythm, like the quiet movement of something far away. Outside, the world has changed its voice. The sounds of daytime are gone. In their place are softer, more distant sounds. A faint rustle in the darkness. The quiet movement of something unseen. The low, gentle call of night creatures, spaced far apart, never interrupting the silence. The child does not listen closely. But the sounds are there. Blending into everything. Becoming part of the stillness. The body rests deeper now. The weight of the day has settled. Not in a heavy way, but in a complete way. Everything that needed to be done has been done. There is nothing left waiting. Nothing unfinished. Only rest. The child turns slightly. A small movement. The blanket shifts. The surface beneath adjusts quietly. Then stillness returns again. The darkness inside the room is soft. Not empty. Not sharp. It holds shapes that are known but no longer seen clearly. The outline of a wall. The faint suggestion of a doorway. The quiet presence of the space itself. Time moves differently now. Slower. Unmeasured. There are no tasks to mark its passing. No changes in light. Only the steady rhythm of breath. And the quiet turning of the night. The child drifts further. Not fully aware. Not fully asleep at first. There is a space between waking and dreaming. A gentle place where thoughts fade before they are fully formed. Images may come and go. Soft. Unclear. Nothing strong enough to hold. Then, slowly, even those begin to disappear. The body relaxes more deeply. Muscles soften. The weight of the body sinks gently into the place where it rests. Everything lets go. Outside, the air cools further. The ground releases the warmth it held during the day. The breeze, if it moves, is cooler now. It touches surfaces lightly, then passes on. The night continues. Unbroken. Calm. There are moments when the child shifts again. Small, natural movements. A hand adjusting. A breath deepening. But each movement is brief. And stillness returns quickly. The quiet is steady. It does not change. It does not need to. This is how the night holds everything. Gently. Without effort. The world feels distant. Not gone. Just far away. There are no voices now. No footsteps. Only the quiet presence of space. And the slow passing of time. Hours move without being counted. The sky above deepens even more. Then, at some point, begins to soften again. But that change is still far away. For now, the night remains. Still. Complete. The child sleeps. Deeply. Without thought. Without interruption. The body restores itself in silence. The mind drifts in quiet darkness. Everything is at rest. And in that rest, there is a kind of peace. Simple. Steady. Unmoving. The same peace that comes every night. The same quiet that has always been there. Holding the child. Holding the home. Holding the world. Until, slowly, very slowly, the first hint of morning will begin again. The first hint of morning arrives quietly. It does not wake the world all at once. It begins as a faint shift in the darkness. A soft thinning of the night, where the air feels just a little lighter, even before the light can be seen. Inside the small home, everything is still. The child remains asleep, breathing slowly, deeply. The blanket rests gently over the body. The space holds the quiet of many hours of rest. Outside, the world begins again. Not loudly. Not suddenly. A distant sound appears first. Very faint. Almost lost in the stillness. Perhaps the movement of a bird. Perhaps the soft stir of something waking in the grass. The sound fades, then returns again. It does not disturb. It simply exists. The darkness begins to soften. Very slowly. The edges of things become slightly less deep. The space inside the room holds a faint gray tone now, though it is barely noticeable at first. The child shifts. A small movement. The breath changes slightly. Not waking yet, but moving closer to it. The air carries a gentle coolness. It touches the skin lightly. There is a quiet freshness in it, as if the world has been resting and is now slowly opening again. The child opens their eyes. Not fully. Just a slight awareness. The ceiling above is still mostly shadow, but its shape is known. Familiar. Unchanged. There is no need to think. No need to rise quickly. The morning will wait. It always does. For a few moments, the child remains still. Between sleep and waking. Between night and day. This space is calm. Soft. Unhurried. Then, slowly, the child breathes a little deeper. The body begins to wake. The arms move slightly. The blanket shifts. The cool air reaches the skin again. Not uncomfortable. Just present. The child sits up. The movement is slow. Careful. There is no rush. Outside, the faint light grows. The sky is not yet bright, but it is no longer dark. A quiet gray stretches across everything. The world feels gentle. Undisturbed. The child listens. There are more sounds now. Still soft. Still calm. But growing. A bird calls once. Then again. A faint rustle nearby. The beginning of movement. The beginning of the day. The child reaches for clothing. The fabric feels the same as always. Worn. Familiar. Comforting in its simplicity. There is no change from the day before. And that sameness brings ease. The child stands. The ground beneath the feet is cool again. Just as it was the morning before. Just as it has been many times. The body remembers this feeling. And accepts it. The child moves toward the door. It opens with the same soft sound. Outside, the air feels fresh. Cool. Light. The sky stretches quietly above. No strong colors yet. Just a pale, even tone. The ground is still holding the last traces of night. Slightly damp in places. Soft underfoot. Nearby, the first movements of others begin. Someone has already woken. Their presence is quiet but steady. A faint sound of movement. A small task already started. The day does not wait. But it does not rush either. It unfolds. Slowly. The child steps forward. Into the morning. Into the same rhythm. There is comfort in knowing what will come. The same small tasks. The same gentle work. The same quiet flow of time. Nothing unexpected. Nothing sharp. Only the steady passing of hours. The child walks toward the water once more. The path feels exactly the same. Each step known. Each movement familiar. The air carries the soft scent of earth. Of grass. Of something new, even though nothing has changed. At the water's edge, the surface is still. Reflecting the pale sky. The child kneels. The container is lowered again. The water moves gently. Small ripples spreading outward. Then fading. Just as before. The child watches for a moment. Then lifts the container. Carefully. The day has begun again. Not as something new. But as a continuation. A quiet repetition. A steady rhythm that does not need to change. The child turns. Walking back. Step by step. Carrying the water. Carrying the morning. And the world moves forward once more. Slowly. Gently. Without ever breaking its calm. The morning settles into its rhythm once again. It does not feel new, even though it has just begun. It feels like something already known, something already understood. The child moves through it without needing to think about what comes next. Everything is where it has always been. The home stands quietly, unchanged. The ground holds the same gentle unevenness beneath each step. The air carries the same soft mix of coolness and warmth as the light slowly grows. The child places the water down. Carefully. Without sound. There is no need to announce the action. It is expected. It is part of the flow. Nearby, someone continues their own work. Their movements are steady, practiced. The quiet sounds of their actions blend into the morning, becoming part of the background, just like the faint calls of birds or the soft stirring of animals. The child begins another task. Perhaps cleaning again. Perhaps preparing something small. The hands move gently. Nothing is forced. Each motion follows the one before it, slow and even. The same movements have been done many times. They do not feel like effort. They feel like something natural. The sun begins to rise higher. The light grows stronger, though it remains soft. It touches the ground first. Then the walls. Then the child's hands. Everything warms slowly. The child notices this without thinking. The body feels it. And adjusts. There is no hurry to finish anything. The day is long. There is time. Always time. The child steps outside again. The air has changed slightly. Less cool now. More open. The sky above is clearer. The pale gray has begun to fade into something brighter. But still gentle. Never harsh. The world feels wide. But not overwhelming. Just quiet. Just steady. There are small tasks waiting. Always small. Always steady. The child moves toward them. Walking along the same paths. Feeling the same ground beneath their feet. Each step is familiar. Nothing surprises. Nothing interrupts. There is comfort in that sameness. A quiet comfort that settles deeply. The child bends down, touches the ground, adjusts something small. Perhaps soil. Perhaps a simple object. The hands move carefully. Slowly. There is no need to rush. Each action is enough on its own. The child stands again. Looks around. Not searching for anything. Just seeing. The same shapes. The same space. The same calm presence. A breeze passes gently. It moves through the air without sound. Touching leaves. Touching skin. Then fading again. The child feels it. Then continues. There may be something to carry. A light bundle. A simple tool. The weight is known. The balance is easy. The path ahead is clear. The child walks. Step by step. Nothing changes. And that is what makes it feel steady. There are no sudden shifts. No loud moments. Only the quiet passing of time. Nearby, the animals move slowly. Their sounds are soft. Familiar. They follow their own rhythm. Just as the child does. Everything exists together. Without needing to be explained. Without needing to be different. The sun rises higher. The warmth increases. But gently. Always gently. The child continues working. Repeating the same actions. Over and over. But never in a way that feels heavy. Each repetition is calm. Expected. Almost comforting. Time passes without being noticed. There is no counting. No marking of hours. Only the feeling of movement. The feeling of the day continuing. At times, the child pauses again. Standing still. Watching something small. A shadow shifting. A leaf turning slightly. A tiny movement that might go unnoticed by anyone else. But here, nothing is too small. Everything has its place. The pause ends. And the work continues. Always the same. Always steady. The child moves through the morning as if carried by it. Not pushing. Not pulling. Just moving along with it. And in that movement, there is a quiet peace. A peace that does not need to be named. A peace that does not need to change. Because this is how the days are. One after another. Softly repeating. Gently continuing. Never rushing. Never stopping. Just flowing forward. In the same calm, endless rhythm. The morning continues in its quiet, familiar way. Nothing asks for attention. Nothing pulls the child away from the gentle rhythm that has already settled into place. The light grows stronger, but it does so slowly, without sharpness. The child moves from one task to another. There is no clear beginning or ending to any of them. A small action fades into the next. Hands lift, place, adjust. Feet step forward, then pause, then step again. Everything flows. The sun rises higher. It can be felt now more than seen. The warmth rests lightly on the child's shoulders, on the arms, on the face. It is not heavy. It does not press down. It simply stays, steady and calm. The air has changed again. The coolness of early morning has faded. In its place is a soft warmth that fills the space quietly. The child continues working. There may be something to gather. Small pieces of wood. Or something growing from the ground. Each item is picked up slowly, held for a moment, then placed into a container or a bundle. There is no rush to collect everything at once. Each movement stands on its own. Nearby, someone else moves in the same way. Their presence is steady. There is comfort in knowing they are there, even without words. The child does not need to look often. Just knowing is enough. The sounds of the day remain soft. A bird calls once, then again after a long pause. Leaves shift gently in a passing breeze. The faint sound of footsteps carries across the ground, then fades again. Nothing stays for long. Everything comes and goes quietly. The child pauses. Not because the work is finished, but because the moment allows it. Standing still, the child looks across the space. The ground stretches out. Simple. Unchanged. The light touches everything evenly. There are no strong shadows now. They have grown smaller, pulling close to the objects that cast them. The world feels open, wide, but still calm. The child breathes slowly, then returns to the task. There is always something more to do, but it never feels overwhelming, because it is done piece by piece. One small action at a time. The child walks again, carrying something light. The body moves naturally, without thought, without effort. The path is familiar. Every step already known. There is no need to look down. The feet find their place easily. Time continues to pass, unnoticed. The sun climbs higher. The warmth deepens slightly. The air becomes still. The breeze slows, then disappears. The child feels this change. The body becomes a little slower. Not tired, just calm. The movements grow softer, more measured. The rhythm adjusts, without being asked, without being noticed. There may be a voice in the distance, calling gently. The sound reaches the child slowly, carried by the quiet air. It does not interrupt. It blends into the moment. The child turns, listening for a second, then begins to move in that direction. There is no hesitation, only a quiet response. Step by step, the child walks back. The ground is warm now, holding the light of the sun. The home appears the same as always. Still. Simple. Waiting. There is a sense of nearing something. Not an end. Just a pause. A soft shift in the rhythm of the day. The child arrives. Sets down what has been carried. Each movement careful. Each action complete. Nearby, others are doing the same. Finishing small tasks. Bringing things to rest. The air holds a faint scent of food again. It rises gently. Warm and simple. The child notices it, without needing to think. There is no rush to eat. But the moment is approaching. The body knows. The child sits slowly. The ground or seat beneath feels steady. Familiar. Comforting in its stillness. The hands rest. The shoulders soften. The breath slows slightly. The light around them is bright, but calm. Nothing sharp. Nothing overwhelming. The midday moment is near. Not marked by a sound. Not marked by a signal. Only by a feeling. A quiet fullness in the air. A gentle pause in the rhythm. And as the child sits there, still and calm, the day prepares to soften once more. Into the quiet stillness of midday. Midday arrives without announcement. There is no sound that marks it. No sudden change in the world. Only a quiet sense that everything has reached a kind of balance. The light is at its strongest now, yet it does not feel harsh. It spreads evenly across the ground, touching everything with the same gentle clarity. The child remains seated. Still. Not asleep, not active. Just present. The air is warm, and it holds steady, as if it has paused with everything else. Even the smallest movements nearby seem softened. The shifting of fabric. The faint repositioning of someone's hands. The quiet settling of the ground beneath still feet. Food is brought again. It is simple, as it always is. Nothing different from earlier days. Nothing unexpected. The same quiet preparation, the same familiar forms. The child eats slowly. Each bite is small. Each movement unhurried. There is no sense of urgency in the body anymore. The morning's work has already passed through it, leaving behind a calm tiredness that is not heavy, but steady. Around the child, others sit as well. There are no long conversations. Only a few words exchanged, soft and spaced apart. Then silence returns. But it is not empty silence. It is full. Full of shared rest. Full of presence. The light outside remains bright, but it feels distant now, as if the world has stepped slightly away from itself for a moment. Shadows are short, gathered closely beneath objects. Trees, if there are any nearby, stand almost still, their leaves barely moving. Even the wind feels paused. The child finishes eating. There is a moment afterward where nothing happens. No movement. No task. Only stillness. This is the quiet center of the day. A place where everything slows down, even time itself, though it continues to pass. The child's hands rest loosely. The body leans slightly into the ground beneath. There is no pressure to move. No expectation. Only rest. Nearby, someone adjusts a small object. A quiet sound. Then silence again. The sound does not break anything. It simply exists and then fades. The child looks down briefly. Then forward. There is nothing to think about. Nothing to decide. The world continues on its own. And the child is simply part of it. The warmth of the day holds steady. Not increasing. Not decreasing. Just remaining. A stable, quiet presence. The kind that asks nothing. The child's eyes soften. Not fully closed. Not fully open. Just resting in between. The body feels the weight of the day gently. Not as strain, but as something completed in pieces. Small tasks already done. Small movements already made. All of it forming a quiet sense of fullness. And now, there is nothing required for a while. The child remains in this still space. Breathing slowly. Evenly. The world outside continues, but at a distance. Time does not feel like it is moving quickly. Or slowly. It simply feels steady. As if everything has been placed in balance. A faint sound of movement returns somewhere far away. But it does not draw attention. It passes through the air and disappears again. The child shifts slightly. A small adjustment. Comfort finding its place again. The midday stillness holds. Soft and complete. There is no need to leave it yet. No need to return to work. The pause is allowed. The pause is natural. And so the child remains there. Quiet. Calm. Held gently within the middle of the day. where nothing asks for change, and everything simply is. The midday stillness does not break. It only begins to loosen, like something soft slowly releasing its hold. There is no clear moment when it changes. No sound that signals the return. Only a subtle shift in the air, a quiet sense that rest is no longer the only thing present. The child feels it first in the body. A slight readiness. Not urgency. Just the slow return of movement within stillness. Around him, others begin to stir in the same way. Small adjustments. A hand moving to the side. A shoulder lifting slightly. A shift of weight from one position to another. The world is not becoming busy again. It is simply opening. Like a slow breath being let out. The child sits for a moment longer. Still not rushing. Still not moving fully. Just allowing the change to arrive gently. Outside, the light remains steady. But the angle begins to feel different. The sun has moved slightly, though it is not yet obvious in a dramatic way. Shadows, once very short, begin to stretch again just a little. The child stands slowly. There is no stiffness in the movement. Only calmness. The body rises as if it has been waiting for this exact moment without knowing it. Nearby, someone is already working again. Quietly. Without hurry. The child steps outside. The air feels slightly different than before. Still warm. But less intense. More balanced. The midday fullness has softened into something more open. The ground is unchanged. Familiar beneath every step. The child begins to move again. There are tasks waiting, as there always are. Simple ones. Small ones. Nothing demanding all at once. Only pieces of work that fit into the remaining hours of the day. The child bends slightly. Lifts something light. Carries it a short distance. Places it down. Each action returns gently, as if it never fully left. Work does not feel like a sudden shift back. It feels like continuing something that was never fully stopped. The sounds of the environment return in soft layers. A faint call from a distance. The rustle of movement nearby. The quiet shifting of objects being used again. Everything blends together. Nothing stands apart. The child walks slowly across the space. The sun is still high, but beginning its long, quiet descent. Not noticeable in a single glance, but present in the feeling of the air. The child pauses near a familiar place. Looks around. Then continues. There is no decision point. Only flow. The body moves where it is needed. Without resistance. Without effort. Time passes again in its gentle way. Not counted. Not measured. Only felt in changes of light and warmth. The child continues working. Hands moving. Feet stepping. Breath steady. Each task blending into the next. The world remains quiet, even in movement. There is no rush to finish anything. Only the steady continuation of what the day holds. At times, the child pauses briefly. Not to stop, but to align again with the rhythm around them. Everything feels connected in this slow, unspoken way. Even the air seems to participate. Soft. Present. Unchanging. As the afternoon begins its long approach, the work continues in the same gentle pattern. No beginning. No end. Only continuation. And within that continuation, there is a quiet sense of ease. As if the day knows exactly how to carry itself forward. without ever needing to hurry. The afternoon stretches out quietly. It does not feel like a new part of the day. It feels like the same breath continuing, held for a little longer, released a little slower. The world remains bright, but the brightness is no longer sharp. It has softened, spreading evenly across everything it touches. The child continues moving through familiar tasks. Nothing new is introduced. Nothing unexpected arrives. Only the steady return of simple actions that have already been done before in slightly different ways. A hand reaches. A tool is lifted. A small task is completed. Then another begins. Each one blends into the next without separation. The rhythm is quiet and unbroken. The ground beneath the child feels warmer now, holding the memory of the sun that has stayed above for so long. Each step is steady. Each movement unhurried. There is no sense of pressure in the afternoon. Only duration. A long, gentle unfolding of time. Nearby, others continue their own work. Their presence is not distant, but it is not intrusive either. Everyone moves within the same shared stillness. Occasional sounds drift through the air. A soft exchange of words. The faint movement of something being carried. The gentle brushing of wind that appears briefly, then fades again. The child pauses sometimes. Not because something ends, but because the rhythm allows it. Standing still for a moment. Looking at the space around. Not searching. Just observing. The same familiar forms remain. The same steady world. And in that sameness, there is a kind of quiet comfort. The sun begins its slow, almost unnoticeable descent. It is not yet evening. Not yet close to change. But the light has started to soften at its edges. Shadows, once very small, begin to lengthen again, stretching gently across the ground. The air shifts slightly. Not cooler yet, but less intense. The child continues working. The movements remain calm, repetitive, steady. Nothing is hurried. Nothing is delayed. Everything happens in its own quiet timing. A task is completed. The child steps back. There is a brief pause. Then another task begins. It is always like this. A chain of simple actions, linked together by time rather than urgency. The child carries something light. Walks a short distance. Places it down. Returns. Each motion feels natural. Effortless in its repetition. The world around remains unchanged in its essence. Only slowly moving forward, as it always does. There is a sense that the day is continuing, but not rushing toward anything. Just moving. Quietly. Evenly. The child's thoughts, if present at all, are simple and soft. Focused only on what is immediately in front. No reaching beyond the moment. No searching beyond the task. Only presence. The air remains still. Occasionally touched by a faint breeze that passes through and disappears without leaving a trace. The light continues its slow shift. It is still day. But the edge of something else is beginning to form in the distance of time. Not yet visible. Only felt. The child completes another small task. Then another. The repetition does not feel heavy. It feels familiar. Like something that belongs exactly where it is. There is comfort in that familiarity. A quiet steadiness that does not need to be questioned. As the afternoon deepens further, the world remains calm. No sudden changes. No interruptions. Only the ongoing movement of a day that knows its own path. The child moves within it gently. as if carried by it. Not leading. Not resisting. Just flowing along with the slow, quiet current of time. And in that flow, everything remains soft and endlessly steady. The afternoon begins to lose its height. Not in a sudden way, but in a quiet, almost unnoticeable settling. The light is still present, still warm, but it no longer feels as strong as before. It spreads differently now, less bright at the center, more gentle at the edges. The child continues to work. But the rhythm has changed slightly again. Not in what is done. Only in how it feels. Movements are the same. Simple. Familiar. Yet there is a softer weight to them now, as if the day itself is beginning to lean gently toward its later hours. The child walks across the ground. Each step feels slightly longer in its silence. The air is calm. Very still. Even the faint sounds from earlier seem more distant now, as if they have stepped back to give space to the quiet growing around everything. A task is finished. The child pauses. Not fully stopping. Just allowing stillness to pass through. Then another task begins. The pattern continues. Always the same gentle sequence. There is something comforting in that repetition. Nothing needs to be remembered in detail. Nothing needs to be decided. The body already knows. The hands already know. The day guides itself in small, steady movements. The sun has moved further now. Not quickly. Not noticeably unless watched for a long time. But it has shifted. And with that shift, the shadows have changed again. They stretch a little longer. They rest a little differently on the ground. The world feels slightly more angled toward the coming evening. The child carries something again. Light in weight. Simple in purpose. The walk is short. Uncomplicated. The return is the same. Everything repeats in gentle cycles. At times, the child looks around. Not with focus, but with quiet awareness. The familiar shapes of the environment remain unchanged. They are always there. Always steady. The home nearby stands as it has all day. Quiet. Patient. Waiting without waiting. There is a faint sense now that the day is beginning to loosen its grip on movement. Not stopping it. Just easing it. Like something slowly relaxing after holding still for a long time. The child completes another task. Then another. Each one slightly softer in its execution. Less defined in urgency. More open in timing. The air carries a subtle change. It is still warm. But no longer fully bright in feeling. Something gentler has entered it. A hint of transition. The child pauses again. Longer this time. Standing still in the middle of familiar space. The world continues around them, but quietly. Without demand. Without pull. There is only presence. The child breathes slowly. And then resumes. But the movement is different now. Smoother. Less anchored to effort. More aligned with the fading pace of the afternoon. Time continues to pass. Without being marked. Without being noticed in clear steps. Only felt as a gradual softening. A quiet easing towards something later. The sun lowers a little more. And everything beneath it follows gently. Shadows stretch further. Light becomes warmer in tone, but less strong in feeling. The child continues working until the tasks grow fewer. Not because they are finished all at once. But because they slowly thin out, like the day itself is offering less to do. There is no urgency in this reduction. Only natural completion. One final small task is done. Then another. And then there is a moment where nothing new arrives. The child stands still. The afternoon is no longer at its center. It is drifting towards something else. Not yet evening, but close enough to feel it waiting quietly beyond the present moment. The world holds this pause gently. Everything remains in place. Everything remains calm. And in that calm, the child simply stands. As the day begins its soft, quiet turning toward evening, the change comes slowly, so slowly that it is almost not a change at all. It is more like a soft forgetting of brightness, as the day begins to release what it has been holding for so long. The light is still there, but it no longer reaches as far as it once did. It feels lower now, closer to the ground, less certain in its strength. The child notices this only in small ways. A shadow that stretches farther than before. A breeze that feels slightly cooler when it passes. A sound that carries just a little less distance before fading into silence. Work continues, but gently now. Not with effort. Not with urgency. Only with the remaining rhythm of the day still moving through the body. The child takes a few slow steps. Stops. Adjusts something small. Then pauses again. Each action feels lighter than it did earlier, as if the world itself is encouraging less movement, not through instruction, but through quiet suggestion. Around them, others also move more slowly. There is no spoken agreement. No signal. Only shared understanding, passed through presence rather than words. The sun is lower now. Not yet gone. But no longer high enough to fill everything evenly. The light has begun to angle itself, stretching across the land in longer, softer bands. Everything it touches feels slightly different. Calmer. Quieter. The child carries something once more. It is light. Almost symbolic now, rather than necessary in any heavy sense. The walk is short. The return even shorter. There is less and less to move as the day gently winds itself down. The air carries a new feeling. A quiet coolness beginning to form at its edges. Not cold. Just a reminder that warmth is slowly stepping back. The child sets the object down. And for a moment, does not move. Just stands. Looking across the familiar space. Everything is still in its place. Nothing has changed in form. Only in feeling. The world feels slightly softer now, as if it has been wrapped in something quiet. Tasks are nearly finished. Or already finished without needing to be named as such. There is no final moment where work ends. It simply fades out of importance. One action less. Then another. Until nothing new remains to be done. The child walks slowly back toward the home. Each step is unhurried. The ground beneath feels cooler now than it did before. The warmth of the day is no longer held evenly. It lingers only in certain places, like memory rather than presence. The sky above begins to shift again. Not quickly. Not dramatically. Only gradually, as color softens and brightness begins to withdraw. The world does not grow dark yet. But it begins to prepare. Inside the space of the home, there is a quiet gathering feeling. Not of people necessarily, but of presence. Of ending motion. Of returning stillness. The child steps inside. There is no need to speak. No need to announce arrival. Everything is already understood. The evening meal, simple as always, is either prepared or being prepared. The scent is faint but warm. Familiar in a way that does not require attention. The child sits. Slowly. Easily. The body no longer carries the rhythm of work. Only the rhythm of settling. Around him, movement continues in soft, final gestures. The closing of small tasks. The setting aside of tools. The quiet adjustment of spaces before night arrives. Everything is gentle. Everything is unhurried. The light outside fades further, deepening into a softer tone. Inside, a faint glow begins to feel more present by comparison. Not bright. Just enough. The child eats slowly. As always. Each movement simple. Each moment calm. There is nothing to think about beyond the immediate present. Nothing to carry forward. Only this quiet pause between day and night. And as the last warmth of the sun slips further away, the world begins its familiar transition into the quiet acceptance of evening. Evening does not arrive as a single moment. It arrives the way silence does, slowly filling spaces that were once full of sound. The light outside has softened further now. It is no longer warm in the same way it was during midday or afternoon. It has become gentle, stretched thin across the ground, as if it is preparing to leave without being noticed. Inside the home, everything feels closer. Quieter. The child sits in stillness after eating. There is no rush to stand. No reason to move quickly. The body feels light, but calm, as if it has finally finished carrying the shape of the day. Around him, the last small movements of the evening continue. A hand gathers something and places it aside. A surface is brushed clean. A quiet adjustment is made in a corner of the space. Each action feels like the final notes of something slowly fading. Nothing is loud. Nothing is urgent. Only completion, expressed in the smallest ways. The child finally stands. Not because something requires it, but because the day is naturally shifting toward rest. The floor beneath feels slightly cooler now. The warmth of the afternoon is gone. What remains is a soft neutrality in the air, neither warm nor cold, simply present. Outside, the sky has changed again. The brightness has lowered into a deeper tone. Colors are no longer distinct. They blend together gently, forming a calm, wide space above the world. The child steps outside briefly. The air touches the skin with a quiet coolness. It is not uncomfortable. It is simply different. A reminder that the day is nearly complete. The ground holds the memory of warmth, but it is fading. Each step feels softer now, as if the earth itself is relaxing after holding the sun for so long. There are fewer sounds. Not silence, but a thinning of noise. The world is letting go of its activity one layer at a time. The child stands for a moment. Looking outward. Not searching. Just seeing. The familiar space appears slightly different in this fading light. Edges are less defined. Shapes are softer. Everything feels gently blurred, as if time itself is loosening its focus. Then the child turns back inside. The doorway feels warmer by comparison. Not in temperature, but in feeling. A kind of enclosed calm. The inside of the home is dimmer now. Not dark yet. Just gently shadowed. The glow that remains is soft and steady, holding the space without effort. There is nothing more to be done. This understanding arrives without thought. It simply settles. The child sits again. The body lowers slowly, finding the place it always returns to at the end of the day. Nearby, others are also settling. Not speaking. Not needing to. Only sharing the same quiet awareness that the day is now complete in its outward motion. Time feels different here. Less directional. Less defined. It no longer moves forward with tasks or actions. It simply exists, stretching gently between stillness and rest. The child's breathing slows slightly. The weight of the day is no longer present in the same way it was earlier. It has dissolved into small, unremarkable moments that no longer need to be held. Outside, the last light continues to fade. It does not disappear suddenly. It dissolves. Softly. Like something returning to where it came from. Inside, the space grows more still. The sounds become fewer. The silence becomes fuller. Not empty, but complete. The child remains seated for a while. Just being. No movement required. No thought needed. Only the quiet awareness of ending. And as the final traces of daylight slip gently away beyond the horizon, the world begins to enter its calm, familiar stillness once more. The kind that belongs only to evening. Night does not begin sharply. It arrives the same way it always does, slowly, quietly, without asking for attention. The last traces of evening fade into a deeper calm, and the world seems to lower its voice once more. Inside the home, the light is very soft now. Not bright enough to define things clearly. Only enough to suggest shapes, edges, and presence. The child remains still for a moment longer. There is nothing left in the day that requires movement. Everything has already loosened into rest. Around them, others are also quiet. No tasks remain. No unfinished motions waiting at the edges of the space. Only the slow settling of people into the end of the day. The child shifts gently. A small movement. A natural one. The body no longer carries the rhythm of work or afternoon motion. It has begun to return fully to stillness. Outside, the air has cooled further. The warmth of the sun is gone completely now. What remains is a calm coolness that spreads evenly through the world, touching everything without pressure. The sky above is darker. But not yet deep night. There is still a faint softness in it, like the memory of light lingering just beyond reach. The child stands slowly. Then moves toward the place where rest will come. There is no preparation in a hurried sense. Only simple, familiar actions. Each one quiet. Each one known. The space around them feels unchanged in structure, yet different in feeling. The day's energy has fully withdrawn. What remains is a gentle emptiness that is not empty at all, but full of stillness. The child lies down. The surface beneath is steady, familiar, unchanged. The blanket settles lightly over the body. There is no need to adjust anything more than once. Everything already feels aligned with rest. Breathing slows. Not intentionally. Just naturally. Outside, the final traces of movement in the world have softened almost completely. The faintest sounds remain. Very distant. Very low. Then fading again into silence. The night continues to deepen. Not in a dramatic way. But in layers. One quiet layer after another. Until the world feels fully wrapped in stillness. The child's eyes close. There is no thought of what came before. No anticipation of what will come after. Only the gentle presence of now dissolving into sleep. The body relaxes fully. Muscles releasing their quiet hold. Breath becoming even. Steady. Soft. The home holds this moment without effort. It does not change. It simply exists within the night. And the night, in return, holds everything. The world outside becomes distant. Not gone. just far away enough to no longer matter. Time loses its shape again. It becomes something slow and unmeasured. Something that passes without being noticed. The child sleeps. Deeply. Quietly. As they always have. As they always will. And above them, the night continues its calm presence. Stretching gently across everything. Until nothing remains except stillness. The night continues without movement. It does not progress in a way that can be noticed. It simply deepens, like water becoming stiller the longer it rests. Inside the home, there is no sound that feels separate from silence. Even the faintest traces of life nearby seem softened, as if wrapped in something that removes their edges. The child sleeps. There is no awareness of time passing here. Only the steady calm of rest. The body remains still, not because it is forced, but because it has fully let go of the day. Every small effort, every simple movement, every quiet task has dissolved into rest. Outside, the world is unchanged in form, but different in presence. The ground holds no warmth now. The sky is deeper. The air is cooler, moving only when it must, then stopping again as if it prefers stillness. There are moments where nothing seems to happen at all. And yet, the night is never truly empty. It holds everything in a quiet way. The child turns slightly in sleep. A small, natural movement. Then stillness returns again immediately, as if even motion is brief here, allowed only in passing. Time continues without shape. No beginning. No middle. No end. Only continuation. The home remains as it is. A simple space within a larger quiet world. Walls holding soft darkness. Corners resting in shadow. Everything familiar, everything unchanged. The night moves gently forward, though forward is only a feeling, not a direction. Somewhere outside, a faint sound may appear. It does not interrupt. It does not rise above silence. It simply passes through it, then disappears. The child remains asleep. Breathing steady. Unaware of the world that continues around them. The stillness deepens further. Not by force. Not by change. But by settling. Like dust finally resting after movement has long ended. There is a sense that everything has paused. Not because it must. But because it has no reason not to. The night becomes fuller in its quietness. Not darker in a noticeable way. But more complete. More continuous. The sense of separation between things fades. Everything feels part of the same soft presence. Even time feels less distinct. The child's sleep continues without interruption. There are no dreams that linger long enough to be known. Only the gentle rhythm of rest. In this space, nothing asks for attention. Nothing demands awareness. The world is not absent. It is simply resting too. As if the entire place has agreed, without words, to remain still for a while. And so it does. Hours pass without weight. Without sound. Without marking. Until even the idea of passing begins to fade. The night holds everything evenly. The home. The child. The quiet air outside. All of it resting within the same gentle stillness. And somewhere within that stillness, time continues its slow, invisible movement. Waiting, without urgency, for the soft return of morning that will come again without announcement. The night reaches its deepest point quietly. It is not something that can be clearly seen or marked. It is only felt in the way everything seems to settle a little more, as if the world has leaned fully into rest. Inside the small home, The darkness is steady. Not heavy. Just complete. The child sleeps without disturbance. Breathing slow and even, the body resting in a stillness that feels natural, as if it has always belonged there. Outside, the world is almost entirely quiet. There are no visible movements. No signs of waking life that stand out from the silence. Even the air feels paused, holding itself gently in place. Time passes, but without texture. Without edges. It moves so softly that it almost does not feel like movement at all. The child shifts once in sleep. A small adjustment, barely noticeable. Then stillness returns again immediately. The blanket settles. The space returns to calm. Everything remains unchanged. The night continues its slow unfolding. Not toward anything dramatic. Not toward any sudden moment. Only toward the quietest part of its own existence. There is a deep softness in this part of the night. A feeling that everything has been fully set down. No effort remains anywhere in the world. Only rest. The home holds this feeling gently. Walls, floor, and air all sharing the same calm presence. Nothing moves unless it must. And even then, movement is brief and soft, fading quickly back into stillness. Outside, the darkness is complete. But not empty. It is full in a quiet way. Full of absence of motion. Full of pause. Full of the kind of silence that does not need to be filled. The child remains asleep through all of it. There is no awareness of passing hours. No sense of waiting. Only continuity. Rest continuing into rest. The body does what it always does in this part of the night. It repairs. It softens. It holds itself gently without effort. And then lets go again into deeper stillness. There is no separation between moments here. Only one long, unbroken calm. At some point, the night reaches its quietest point. Not marked by anything visible. Only by a deeper sense of stillness, as if even the idea of movement has paused completely. The world feels suspended. Not frozen. Just held. And in that holding, everything remains safe, quiet, and unchanged. The child breathes. Slowly. Steadily. Nothing interrupts this rhythm. Nothing disturbs it. It continues like a soft thread through the stillness of night. And then, without notice, something begins to shift again. Not in sound. Not in movement. But in feeling. A very slight softening of darkness. So subtle it almost cannot be named. The first sign of return. The faintest suggestion that the night is beginning, very far away, to loosen its hold. But for now, everything remains still. Everything remains quiet. And the deepest part of the night continues to hold the world gently in its calm, uninterrupted rest. The change is almost impossible to notice at first. It does not arrive like a moment. It does not announce itself in any way. It is only a slight softening within the deep darkness, as if the night has begun to breathe a little differently. Inside the home, everything remains still. The child continues sleeping. Deeply. Evenly. The body rests in the same quiet position it has held for hours, untouched by the passing of time in any conscious way. Outside, the world is the same in shape, but slowly becoming different in feeling. The darkness is still present. But it is no longer absolute. There is a faint suggestion of distance within it, as if the night is no longer pressing so closely against everything. Time continues its slow, invisible movement. Not forward in a clear way, but gently loosening. The child shifts slightly in sleep, A soft movement, brief and unimportant to anything except the quiet rhythm of rest. Then stillness returns. The home remains unchanged. A small, steady space within a very large silence. The air inside is cool and even. No sound reaches in. No urgency exists here. Only rest. Outside, the faintest possibility of light begins to form far away. It is not yet visible. Not yet clear enough to be named. But it is present in the way the darkness feels slightly less dense than before. A soft thinning at the edges of night. The world has not begun to wake. But it has begun to prepare. Very slowly. Without intention. The child sleeps on. Breathing steady. Unaware of any shift. There is no need for awareness here. Only continuation of rest. Time passes again. Unmeasured. Unmarked. Like a long, quiet space that stretches without end. The night is still present. Still full. But something in it has changed shape. Not enough to break it. Only enough to soften it. The feeling of stillness remains, but it is no longer as absolute as before. It has begun to loosen slightly. Like fabric relaxing after being held for too long. Outside, there are no sounds that stand out. But the silence itself feels different. Less sealed. More open. As if space is slowly returning to the world. The child remains asleep. Held gently within this transition that cannot be seen or felt directly. Only known in the quietest sense of change. The body continues its deep rest. Unaware. Uninterrupted. The home remains still. The world remains still. And yet, somewhere far beyond sight or sound, the smallest beginning of morning continues to form, quietly preparing to arrive again, as it always does, without ever being rushed. The night is still present, but it no longer feels fully closed. Something in it has begun to loosen, so gently that it cannot be pointed to or described in any sharp way. It is only a feeling of space widening, as if the darkness is no longer holding everything quite so tightly. Inside the home, the child sleeps on. Breathing slow and steady. The body remains at rest, unchanged in position, unchanged in rhythm, as if it has fully accepted the quiet agreement of the night. There is no movement that feels separate from stillness. Only the deep, even presence of sleep. Outside, the world is quiet in a different way now. Not empty, but softened. The deepest point of night has passed, even if nothing shows it clearly. The darkness remains, but it feels less dense, as though it is slowly becoming lighter from within itself. Time continues to move, but it is no longer as heavy as before. It feels more like passing through something gentle rather than staying inside something still. The child turns slightly in sleep. A natural, small motion. Then returns immediately to stillness. Everything settles again. The home remains unchanged. Walls resting in shadow. Air calm and undisturbed. The faint coolness of night still present, but slowly beginning to ease. Outside, there is no visible sign of morning yet. But something within the atmosphere feels different. A subtle openness. A quiet readiness that does not belong to night anymore, and not yet fully to day. It exists between them. Soft. Unformed. The world has not awakened. But it is no longer fully asleep either. The child continues resting. Unaware of this slow shift. There is no need for awareness. Only the natural continuation of sleep. The breath remains steady. The body remains still. Time moves gently forward without effort, like something drifting rather than traveling. And in this drifting, the night begins to thin very slightly. Not disappearing. Not changing suddenly. Only becoming lighter in its presence. As if it is slowly remembering that it will soon end. Inside the home, nothing changes. Everything remains as it has been. Quiet. Simple. Still. But the feeling of the space is slowly shifting, almost imperceptibly, towards something softer, something less enclosed. Outside, the darkness holds on. But not as firmly as before. It no longer feels endless. It feels temporary. Though no one is there to notice it. The child sleeps deeply through it all. Held in the same calm that has existed since the night began. There is no interruption. No disturbance. Only the steady rhythm of rest continuing without end. And somewhere far beyond what can be seen or heard, the night continues to soften, making room, slowly and quietly, for the first true arrival of morning that is still far away, but already on its way. There is a stillness in this part of the night that feels different from all the others. It is not the deepest silence anymore, and it is not yet the beginning of morning. It is something in between, something gentle and unmarked, like a pause that has no clear reason to exist except that it does. Inside the home, the child sleeps on. Breathing remains steady. The body is fully at rest, held in a calm that feels complete and unbroken. There is no sense of time passing in any meaningful way here. Only the soft continuation of sleep. Outside, the world is quiet in a wide, open way. The darkness is still present, but it no longer feels dense or heavy. It feels stretched, as if it has become thinner without disappearing. The sky above holds everything in a soft, quiet balance. Nothing moves in a way that draws attention. Even the faintest presence of life feels distant, as though the world is resting too deeply to be disturbed by anything small. The child shifts slightly. A slow, natural movement. Then stillness returns again immediately, as if even motion here is only a passing visitor. The home remains unchanged. Simple. Familiar. Holding the child in its quiet space without effort. Time continues to pass, but it feels softer now. Less like something moving forward. More like something gently unfolding. There is no urgency in it. No direction that can be felt. Only continuation. Outside, the darkness begins to lose its last sense of depth. Not in a way that can be clearly seen. But in the way it feels less complete than before. As if it is slowly opening itself, without intention. The child remains asleep through all of it. Unaware. Undisturbed. Resting in a rhythm that does not require awareness to continue. The air inside the home is still. Cool. Calm. Everything remains as it was. But something subtle has changed in the background of the world. A faint easing. A quiet loosening. The kind of change that cannot be named while it is happening. Only felt afterward, if it is noticed at all. The night continues to hold everything gently. But not as tightly as before. It feels as if it is preparing, without effort, to release its hold when the time comes. The child breathes again. Slow. Even. Nothing interrupts this rhythm. It remains steady through the deep quiet. And in that steadiness, everything continues as it has for hours. No beginning. No end. Only the soft continuity of rest. Far away, beyond anything that can be seen, the first hint of returning light continues to form silently. Still too faint to matter. Still too distant to change anything. But present. and slowly becoming more present with each passing moment that does not feel like passing at all. The world remains still. The child remains asleep. And the night, now gently worn and softened at its edges, waits quietly for what it already knows is coming, without needing to move toward it. The night does not end in a moment. It ends in silence that becomes slightly less complete. Inside the home, the child remains asleep, held in the same quiet position as before. The breathing is steady, unbroken, as if nothing in the world has changed. And yet something has. Outside, the darkness is no longer as deep as it once was. It is still night. But it has begun to feel lighter, as though it is no longer fully carrying its own weight. There is no visible line between night and morning. Only a slow, gentle easing that moves through everything at once. The sky holds this change quietly, without color, without shape, only a soft shift in presence that cannot be clearly seen, only sensed. The child turns slightly in sleep. A small, natural motion. Then stillness returns immediately, as if even movement is only a passing ripple on a very calm surface. The home remains unchanged. Simple. Quiet. Familiar in every way. Time continues to move, though it does not feel like movement anymore. It feels like waiting without awareness of waiting. Like something resting inside itself. Outside, the darkness continues to thin. Not quickly. Not noticeably. But steadily, in a way that cannot be stopped or reversed. The air feels different now. Not because anything has been added to it, but because something is slowly leaving it. A heaviness that is no longer present, though it is not fully gone. The child sleeps on. Deeply. Without interruption. The body remains in complete rest, as it has through the long night. There is no awareness of change. No sense of transition. Only continuity. Everything remains still. And yet, the world is not exactly the same as it was before. Something in it has softened further. The silence feels more open now. Less enclosed. As if space itself has expanded slightly in preparation for what is coming. There are no sounds that mark this change. No signals. No signs. Only a quiet sense that the night is no longer holding everything in the same way. The child breathes again. Slow. Even. Unchanged. But around that stillness, the world continues its gentle shift. The night is not gone. But it is no longer fully in control of the shape of things. It is beginning to release them, little by little, without resistance. Inside the home, nothing needs to adjust. Everything remains as it is. Calm. Simple. Undisturbed. But beyond the walls, something very faint continues to grow. Not light yet. Not morning yet. Only the idea of light. The memory of morning before it arrives. The child remains asleep through all of it. And in this quiet space between night and day, everything waits without knowing it is waiting, for the soft return of a world that never truly leaves, only changes how it rests. The change is happening now. But it is so quiet, so gradual, that it feels like nothing at all. Inside the home, the child is still asleep. The breath rises and falls in the same steady rhythm. The body remains relaxed, untouched by the slow shift taking place beyond the walls. Nothing has disturbed this rest. Nothing needs to. Outside, the darkness is no longer whole. It has thinned in a way that is difficult to see, but easy to feel, as if the night has gently stepped back just enough to make space for something else. The sky is still dim. Still soft. But no longer deep. there is a faint openness to it now. A quiet, wide presence that did not exist before. Time continues, but it does not move in clear steps. It unfolds. Like something slowly opening without needing to be seen. The child shifts again. A small movement. Barely noticeable. Then stillness returns. The blanket settles. The body relaxes again into the same calm position. Inside the home, the air is unchanged in its stillness. Cool. Quiet. Holding everything gently. But even here, something has shifted. Not in temperature. Not in sound. Only in feeling. A subtle lightness, as if the space itself has become slightly less enclosed. Outside, the first true hint of morning begins to form. It is not light yet. But it is no longer darkness in the same way. It is something in between. A soft gray presence that touches everything lightly, without defining it. The shapes of the world are still hidden. But they are closer now. Closer to being seen. The child remains asleep. Unaware. The body continues its steady rest, as it has through the long hours of night. There is no urgency for waking. No need for it yet. Everything is still. And yet, everything is slowly changing. The silence remains, but it feels more open now. Less contained. As if the world is beginning to breathe again, very gently. The air outside carries this change. It is still cool. Still calm. But no longer as still as before. There is a faint movement in it, not strong enough to be felt, only sensed in the way space seems to shift. The sky continues to soften. Gradually. Patiently. Without effort. The night is not gone. But it is no longer complete. It has become something else. Something lighter. Something that will soon give way without resistance. The child breathes. Slowly. Evenly. Unchanged. But around that stillness, the world continues to open. The home remains quiet. The ground remains still. Everything holds its place. And yet, just beyond the edge of what can be noticed, the first real presence of morning continues to arrive, not with sound, not with movement, but with a quiet, steady light that is beginning to exist where darkness once fully remained. The light does not arrive all at once. It grows slowly, almost as if it is remembering how to return. Outside, the darkness has softened into a quiet gray. It is no longer night in the same way. The sky holds a faint, even tone that stretches gently across everything, without brightness, without color, just a soft presence that allows the world to begin showing itself again. Inside the home, the child still sleeps. The breathing remains slow and steady. The body is relaxed, settled into the same familiar place. Nothing has interrupted the rest. And yet, the space around the child is no longer as dark as it was before. The shapes of the room begin to return. Very faintly at first. The outline of a wall. The quiet form of the doorway. The suggestion of the ceiling above. Nothing is sharp. Nothing is fully clear. But everything is slowly becoming visible again. The air feels slightly different. Still cool. Still calm. But lighter. More open. As if it carries more space within it than before. The child shifts gently. A small movement. The kind that comes naturally as sleep begins to soften. Then stillness returns once more. But it is a different kind of stillness now. Less deep. Less complete. More open to waking. Outside, the ground begins to take shape. The edges of things appear slowly. A path. A small object resting where it was left. The faint outline of plants, still and quiet. The world is returning, not through motion, but through visibility. Time continues its gentle unfolding. Still not measured. Still not marked. But felt now in the growing presence of light. The child remains asleep. But not as deeply as before. There is a quiet closeness to waking now. A subtle shift within the body that does not yet turn into action. Only preparation. The sky above continues to lighten. Not bright. Not clear. Just soft. Even. The kind of light that does not draw attention to itself. Only allows everything else to be seen. The silence remains. But it has changed. It is no longer the full silence of night. It is the silence of early morning. Open. Gentle. Waiting. Inside the home, the same calm presence holds everything together. Nothing has moved. Nothing has changed in form. Only in feeling. The child's breathing continues. Still slow. Still steady. But closer now to waking. The body begins to feel the return of the day, even before the mind becomes aware of it. Outside, the faintest sounds may begin to form. Not clearly. Not consistently. But present in a very soft way. A distant movement. A subtle shift in the air. Nothing that breaks the quiet. Only small signs that the world is beginning again. The light grows just a little more. Enough to gently touch the edges of everything. Enough to bring the world back into soft focus. The child remains still. But no longer fully within the deep rest of night. There is a quiet transition happening now. One that does not rush. One that does not push. Only a gentle return. And as the light continues to grow, slowly and patiently, the world moves closer to waking. Carried forward by the same calm rhythm that never truly stops. The light has returned, but softly. It does not fill the world. It rests lightly upon it, like something careful not to disturb what is still quiet. The sky holds a pale, even tone, and the ground reflects it in the same calm way. Inside the home, the child remains lying still. But sleep is no longer as deep as it was. Something within has shifted. The breathing is still slow, but slightly different now. A little lighter. A little closer to waking, though not fully there yet. The shapes of the room are clearer. The walls can now be seen without effort. The doorway stands in its place, quiet and familiar. The ceiling above no longer hidden, only softly outlined. Nothing has changed in the space itself. Only the light has returned to reveal it again. The child moves slightly. A small motion of the arm. A gentle shift of the body. Then stillness again. But this stillness feels thinner. Less complete. As if it could open at any moment. Outside, the world has begun to show itself more clearly. The ground, once hidden in shadow, is now softly visible. The path is there. The shapes of objects are no longer just suggestions. They exist again, though still quiet and untouched. The air feels fresh. Cool, but not cold. Open, but not empty. It carries a quiet sense of beginning. There are no loud sounds. Only the faintest hints of life returning. A soft movement in the distance. A quiet stir that blends into the morning rather than standing apart from it. The child's eyes remain closed. But the body is no longer fully at rest. There is a gentle readiness now. Not urgent. Not demanding. Only present. Time continues to pass in its quiet way. But now it feels more like movement again. More like something unfolding rather than simply existing. The light grows just a little stronger. Not bright. Never harsh. Only enough to make everything easier to see. The child breathes in. Slowly. Then out. The same rhythm continues, but with a subtle change. A quiet preparation for waking. Another small movement. The hand shifts. The blanket adjusts slightly. The body responds to the presence of morning without needing to think about it. Inside the home, the stillness remains. But it is no longer the stillness of night. It is the stillness of early day. A quiet pause before motion returns. Outside, the world is ready. Not active yet. Not fully awake. But present. Waiting without knowing it is waiting. The child lies in this space for a little longer. Between sleep and waking. Between night and day. It is a calm place. A soft place. Where nothing needs to happen yet. Then, slowly, without effort, the child begins to wake. Not all at once. Not suddenly. But gently. Like the light itself. Returning in small, quiet steps. And the day, once again, begins to form around that simple moment, without ever breaking the calm that carries it forward. The child opens their eyes. Not fully at first. Just enough to let the soft morning light enter. The room is no longer shadowed. It is gently visible now, holding the same familiar shapes it always has. Nothing has changed. Nothing ever needed to. For a moment, the child does not move. There is no reason to. The day has not asked for anything yet. The air feels calm and light. The coolness of the early morning rests softly against the skin, not sharp, not heavy, just present. Breathing continues slowly. Evenly. As if the body is still holding onto the quiet rhythm of sleep. Outside, the world is awake in the softest possible way. Not loud. Not busy. Only present. A faint sound drifts in. Then fades. The kind of sound that belongs to the morning, but does not define it. The child remains still. Between rest and motion. Between the quiet of night and the quiet of day. It is not a dramatic change. Only a gentle continuation. The same world, returning again. The same simple rhythm, waiting without urgency. The child sits up slowly. The blanket falls back slightly, releasing the last trace of warmth. The air meets the body again. Cool. Fresh. Unfamiliar for a moment, then immediately known. The ground beneath the feet feels steady. Just as it did yesterday. Just as it will again. There is comfort in that sameness. A quiet, steady comfort that does not need to be understood. Only felt. The child stands. Not quickly. Not slowly. Just naturally. As if the body has already decided without needing to think. The room holds its calm. The doorway waits. The morning continues to grow, but gently, without pressure. The child steps forward. Each step soft. Each movement unforced. The door opens. And the light, pale and even, rests across the ground outside. The air carries the scent of earth again. Of something beginning, though nothing has truly ended. There is no clear line between yesterday and today. Only a quiet passing from one into the other. The child steps into the morning. And for a moment, everything feels the same. The same path. The same ground. The same quiet presence of the world. Nothing new demands attention. Nothing breaks the calm. Only the gentle continuation of life, moving forward without ever needing to rush. The child walks, step by step, toward the same simple tasks, toward the same quiet rhythm, toward a day that will unfold just as softly as the one before it. And in that repetition, there is no heaviness. Only peace. The kind that comes from knowing nothing needs to be different. The kind that exists when everything moves slowly, steadily, and without noise. The world continues. The light grows. The air shifts gently. And the child moves within it all, just as before. Not noticed. Not remembered. But present. Fully present. And as the morning opens wider, carrying the quiet promise of another simple day, the story does not end. It only softens. It fades into the same gentle rhythm it has always followed. Like a breath that never truly stops. Like a day that never fully ends. Only continues. Softly. Quietly. And without ever needing to be told.